What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Saturday, February 7th, 2026, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 16:43 Eastern Time here in the United States, and I wanted to update you guys on the situation with Iran. But also, before I get into that, we have some very concerning news coming out of China. So the United States on Friday accused China of carrying out a secret nuclear test in 2020. Undersecretary of State for Arms Control and International Security Thomas DiNanno said in remarks at a global disarmament conference in Vienna Friday, quote, "Today I can reveal that the U.S. government is aware that China has conducted nuclear explosive tests, including preparing for tests with designated yields in the hundreds of tons. China conducted one such yield producing nuclear test on June 22nd of 2020, he said. A former senior U.S. official told CNN that information about China's 2020 test has been declassified. DiNanno accused the Chinese military of seeking to, quote, conceal testing by obfuscating the nuclear explosions because it recognized these tests violate test ban commitments. China has used decoupling, a method to decrease the effectiveness of seismic monitoring, to hide their activities from the world, he said. According to experts, decoupling happens when a large cavern is dug to lessen the seismic activity from a nuclear explosion, making it harder to detect. Wow, so China has done nuclear tests in the last couple of years, specifically June 22nd of 2020. Absolutely insane. And this is probably why, if you remember, when Trump first got into office, he said that we may resume nuclear testing. Maybe this is why. And Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner visited the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier on Saturday morning after completing talks with Iran on Friday, so that's pretty interesting. And Iran's foreign minister told Al Jazeera today that no date is set for the second round of indirect talks with the U.S. So, guys, no date has been set for the next round of talks. And remember that in the first round, it wasn't even directly the U.S. and Iran. There was an Omani mediator. So Steve Witkoff, the representative for the U.S., spoke to the Omani mediator, and the Iranian foreign minister spoke to the Omani mediator, and they didn't discuss anything except nuclear enrichment. And the Iranians also refused to back down from their right to enrich uranium, which they really don't have a right to that, but they basically said it's their right, and they don't want to back down. So I don't see how a deal is going to happen. And Iran's foreign minister said today that an expansionist project is pursued in the region under the banner of security, basically accusing the U.S. and Israel of expansionism. And Major General Tomer Bar, commander of the Israeli Air Force, met Friday with the head of the Israeli Defense Forces Intelligence Directorate, Major General Shlomi Binder, and other senior defense officials to finalize preparations for potential military action against Iran if or when the U.S. decided to act, according to the Israeli newspaper Ynet. Okay, so the commander of the Israeli Air Force and the head of the Israeli military intelligence, along with senior Israeli defense officials, held a meeting on Friday. Okay, that is big news. And the UK deployed 6 F-35 fighter jets to the RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus, that's the British base in Cyprus, to reinforce security amid fears the U.S. could strike Iran. And Iranian Parliament's National Security Committee said Tehran has not retreated from its red lines, but Washington has. So basically saying that Iran has not backed down, but the U.S. has backed down, basically saying that they one-upped us in this first round. So Trump's definitely not going to like that. And the British newspaper The Telegraph is warning that Iran plans missile barrages on U.S. bases. Iran has reportedly prepared a detailed war plan against the United States. And what you're looking at here are more U.S. military cargo planes going to and from the Middle East, from Germany's Ramstein Air Base down to Jordan. And interestingly, over the last 2 to 3 days, they've been going to Azerbaijan, which is very unusual. Last night, we saw several C-17s go to Azerbaijan, and here you can see one going there right now this afternoon. And this is pretty interesting because if you look at the map, Azerbaijan is pretty close to Tehran. Geographically, it's closer to the capital of Iran than any of the other surrounding Middle Eastern countries that we have bases in, like Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Syria, Iraq. Tehran is super close to Azerbaijan, so I'm wondering if we're not going to launch an attack from Azerbaijan towards Tehran, or if potentially we're evacuating people from Iran through Azerbaijan. That's possible too, but I don't think so, considering that these are military cargo planes, So I tracked at least 3 or 4 going to Azerbaijan yesterday, and then here we have another one today. And last night we had more C-17s leave the eastern U.S. and go overseas to the Middle East. So hundreds of U.S. military cargo planes going over to the Middle East. And last night there was a massive attack on Ukraine. Russia launched 21 Kh-101 cruise missiles, 18 Caliber missiles, and 2 hypersonic Zircon missiles, as well as 408 drones, according to the Ukrainian armed forces. And interestingly, during this massive attack last night, we had this German Air Force plane that was flying in southeastern Poland with no transponder on declare a general emergency, and it had to make an emergency landing at Poland's Malbork Air Base, which is home of NATO fighter jet contingents. So potentially a German fighter jet that was patrolling the border of Poland and Ukraine last night had some kind of mechanical issue or some other kind of issue, and it had to make this quick landing in Malbork, and you can see it was flying with its tracker turned off until it got north of Warsaw. Right before it was going to land, it turned its tracker on. So clearly some kind of German fighter jet that experienced mechanical issues, and then here you can see it landing in the Malbork Air Base. So very interesting. And the former Deputy Minister of Justice of Russia, Sergei Tropin, was found dead in his Moscow apartment yesterday. And also the Russian military intelligence deputy chief, Lieutenant General Vladimir Alexeyev, was shot multiple times in Moscow. So we had the lieutenant general from the military intelligence and the deputy minister of justice both found dead yesterday, and I think potentially the Ukrainians or NATO was behind that. That's a big deal, guys, and that's probably why Russia launched that attack last night. And what you're looking at here is a picture of this warehouse, some kind of logistical warehouse in western Ukraine that was hit by Russian missiles. And western Ukraine was particularly targeted last night. They hit various power plants and substations, massive substations, up to 750,000 volts large, were taken out by Russian missiles. Multiple power plants in the West Ukraine region and also Kharkiv. So they seem to target the critical infrastructure in western Ukraine. And Russia refuses to share the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant with the United States. According to Reuters, Moscow rejected Washington's proposal to place the plant under U.S. management and supply electricity in both directions. Russia found this option unacceptable. So if you're not aware, during the beginning of the peace talks with Russia and Ukraine, the U.S. came in and said that they wanted to basically take control of the nuclear plant, and then they would divide the electricity to each side, and Russia doesn't want to do that. And the Russian Ministry of Defense claimed full occupation of the village of Chuhunivka in the Kharkiv region, which is very interesting because we haven't seen Russia really make much movement in the Kharkiv region in a while. So they took some kind of village in the Kharkiv region. And F-22 Raptors have been pulled from Sunday's flyover for the Super Bowl at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California by the U.S. Air Force due to operational assignments. Interesting. So we do know there's going to be F-15s, F-35s, and B-1 bombers that are going to be a part of the flyover. And there was some kind of a digital signal transmitted from Greenland. Apparently this is the first time Greenland has activated any kind of military-related radio communications. We also know that France and Canada set up consulates in Greenland now, making them the first NATO countries to have consulates in Greenland. They're doing that as a deterrence against any kind of U.S. invasion. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight around midnight or before midnight live. So tune in then, and until the next time, follow me on Twitter at NYPrepper1. Follow me on Patreon. $5 a month gets you access to all my videos without any advertisements. Also, check out my 24/7 live stream for round-the-clock updates, and so you can hear the nuclear forces through the radio that I have. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by NYPrepper Supply. Guys, NYPrepper Supply is doing a massive sale on their 3-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. They're selling their 3-month emergency food supply for just $600, so that's $100 off the normal price. And this is 3 months of food at 2,000 calories per day, has a shelf life of up to 25 years, and all of this is packed into 6 rugged water-resistant buckets, and free shipping is included. And they're also offering a disaster replacement warranty, so if your food supply gets destroyed by a natural disaster, they'll replace it for you with no charge. And they also will provide you with free survival books and information, including a natural disaster field guide, a survival Bible digital copy. So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $100 off the NYPrepper Supply 3-month emergency food supply, and the link is in the description below this video.